Shin pain is extremely common in runners. They often call it shin splints. Sometimes they call it medial tibial stress syndrome. Sometimes it gets called a bone stress injury or a stress reaction or even a stress fracture. Today, we're going to dig into what these things are and what runners actually need to do if they want to get past shin pain with running. Now, these three things that they must do are not going to focus on what most content about shin pain with running focuses on, which is more the symptoms. So how to reduce the pain, which is stretching, foam rolling, painkillers, ice, massage, dry needling, and other such things that might help reduce the pain and treat the symptoms, but do not address the reasons that you have the shin pain in the first place, which is where we get to the root cause. But the three things that I'm going to talk about today focus on those root causes, the reasons that we develop shin pain in the first place. And one of them is quite surprising, so stick around for number 2 because that one is a little unusual. Now, first off, what are we talking about here? So shin pain with running, your shin is the tibia bone, and shin splints is a common term for when you get pain in your shin with running. Now, it is the shin bone itself, the tibia bone or the outer layer of that shin bone that is hurting when we have shin splints or shin pain with running. And the severity of the problem exists along a spectrum. Everything from, mild shin pain, which is related to a mild inflammation of the outer layer of the bone at the very light end, all the way up to a stress fracture, which is where the bone is under such stress it actually cracks. So if we think we have shin splints at one end of the spectrum, stress fracture at the other end, and then bone stress reaction or a stress reaction in the middle. Now, aside from just reducing the irritation by taking our running down to a level that is not producing too much pain, we also need to actually address the root of the problem. The root of the problem is that our shin bone is being placed under more stress through our running than it is capable of adapting to. And we're going to attack this from both sides. We're going to reduce the stress that it experiences, and we're going to increase its ability to tolerate stress. And when we do both those things, we put the shin bone in the best position possible to be able to adapt to our training, become stronger and more resilient, and not break down. Now, the first thing that runners with shin pain must do is to fix their form. So if we are running in a way that's putting a lot of stress on our shins, then we want to work on that so we reduce the stress on the tibia and give ourselves the best chance possible of being able to tolerate the stress. Now, there are a number of things that we can look at in order to reduce the stress on the shin bone when running in terms of our form. But one of the things that it's important to look at is for a knock-knee window. A knock-knee window means that you can't see space between the knees when the knees are passing when you look at someone's technique when they're being viewed from behind. If you can't see air between the knees as they pass, we say that the knee window is closed, and we call this knock-knee running. Knock-knee running will tend to put more stress on the inner side of the shin bone, which is going to make it more difficult for that area to adapt to the stress. So what we want to work on is making sure that our pelvis stays level and our foot stays upright so that the knees aren't brushing up against each other, and that's going to reduce the stress on the shin bone. The second thing that runners with shin pain must do is make sure that they have very strong calf muscles. So we want to be doing calf raises once or twice a week that are heavy enough to make our muscles stronger. The way we can look at this is we do 4 sets of 8 or 5 sets of 5 with a dumbbell in our hand that is so heavy that we struggle to do the last 2 or 3 reps. Doing this will make our calf muscles stronger, and that will help offload the shin bone. Again, this is going to help us reduce stress on that tibia. In our strength training, alongside our calf raises, we also want to do max effort jumping. That can be something like squat jumps or broad jumps or lunge switches where we're jumping up as high as we can and landing again for 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 5 reps. This is because as we land and hit the ground, our bones get a massive adaptive stimulus to become stronger and more resilient. If we contrast this with running, when we run, we take lots and lots of steps, but the impact per step is quite low. When we jump up in the air really high and land, the impact is very high, but we just do 3 to 5 sets. So the actual number is quite low. And this is because when we look at bone, it tends to respond to impact by becoming stronger and more resilient if there is only sort of 20, 30, 40 reps. Once you do more reps, the body kind of ignores that stimulus. So as we start to run, the first, 20, 30, 40, 50 steps that we take, acts as a stimulus for bone growth and bone development. But once we continue to run beyond the first couple of minutes, there's not that much stimulus in terms of bone growth. So when we're injured, as long as we can do it without pain, if we can do these max effort jumps, or if we're doing this to try and avoid shin splints and shin pain in the first place, when we do this, we only have to do, 5 sets of 5, so 25 reps, or 5 sets of 10, 50 reps, and we can get a really large adaptive stimulus without much actual running. And the final thing that runners with shin pain must do if they actually want to get out of this situation is to run. You cannot rest this better. So you need to run, and you need to use running as the rehab. And this is where we need to classify our pain. So when we run, if we're doing a 5-minute run or a 20-minute run or a 30-minute run, we want to classify the pain in our shins as green, orange, or red. We will allow green pain. If it's orange pain, we'll go slowly and cautiously, but we might back off, and red pain is not allowed. So we must use that traffic light system to keep our pain when we're running in the green. If we allow it to go into the orange or red regularly, we're going to struggle to get out of this situation. So these are the 3 things that runners with shin pain must do. They must fix their form, they must make themselves stronger, especially in their calf, and include plyometric max effort jumps, and then they must keep their running in the adaptive zone, using running as the rehab, not doing too much, running too soon, and using green, orange, and red as their pain traffic lights to guide how much running they do. If you're having trouble with shin pain when you're running and you're having a hard time getting out of it, then we'd love to help you. Just click the link in the description as usual, book a call, and have a chat with one of us to see if we might be able to help you get back to pain-free running.